What is up, you guys? This is HJJ Halloween, and today I am back with another theme deep dive. I hope you guys have been enjoying this series, and I hope you guys are having a great day. I should be starting to talk about sneak peeks very soon. We're heading into July, so fingers crossed that we get a regular sneak peek season. I know that last year it was kind of messed up, but I'm really looking forward to all of that. I also have some other big videos planned for you guys, so stay tuned. Lots of stuff to look forward to. Hit that subscribe button. But without further ado, today we are talking about the haunted hotel. This theme was known as either the hotel or the haunted hotel, and it was the back theme for the 2016 season, the same year of the clock tower. So a pretty impressive year for theming. So before we jump into talking about this one in particular, let's go ahead and look at the official theme video for the hotel.
Do you know? Pain.
These are the things I share with all. A blight to infect your very soul.
Stay away or I shall infest you too!
So that was the haunted hotel, kind of similar to the subway station Z layout that came before it, where it had a compartment in the back, but then also some kind of stuff up in the front that you could walk under, except this time, instead of having two platforms on the left and right, you could walk in on the left and right, and it had a platform in the middle, and then it had these archways over top of you. I really love this layout. I hope that they start to bring this back for the back theming. I really liked when it felt like each of the props was in some sort of compartment that made sense. In this case, we'll talk about it was like elevators and rooms, so it was really, really cute and well designed. But I hope they bring that back, because I think recently I've been a little bit underwhelmed by the layout of some of the back themes. But so this theme had a really, dull color scheme. It was just very pale browns in color. We had the brown wood that was being used for the pillars for the sign that was holding up the hotel. So that was another really cool aspect, by the way, is that it had the letters, the lettering for the hotel sign in big bold letters with actual red light up dots. So it kind of had this really almost like this retro motel look. And then it had these pale cream tan like wallpaper as well that was all ripped up and chipped. We also had kind of like some green wallpaper chipping down at the bottom, so it looked like a very retro old hotel, and it gave the feel of like an abandoned hotel, obviously, because that's kind of the aspect that makes it creepy. But yeah, it was really, really well done. We had in the front here a section that had the desk, and I remember you'd go up to this had the Terror TV, one of my favorite tabletops, and it had a couple other tabletops there, like that book that returned for several years, as well as the seance board. And then also there was like this picture up on the wall that had like the spider on it. There was a lot of little things that were released for this little front section. You had the desk, and right behind that was the keys. And then there was actually a platform here, and the theming for the platforms, there wasn't many, but the theming for the flooring platforms of the platforms was this like checkered white and black design. So it definitely looked very, very old school. And on this center section, we had Morning Gory and Rising Reaper of Death. The clown guy wasn't supposed to be there, but yeah, Morning Gory was one that I never actually got, but she definitely was right at my alley, because you guys know I like those really spooky possessed props. She's a little bit more of a zombie, but I really, really did like her. And we'll take a closer look at this middle section in a moment, because there's more to it than what's shown in this picture. But Aside from that, it was a pretty short theme, so it fit well in most stores, which I think is good because you didn't have to actually modify it much. It was pretty flat to the ground. We just had these archways going to the left and the right, and those looked really, really cool. They had like a really organic pattern to them that just kind of looked like some broken concrete, just kind of almost like taking you into this world inside the hotel. You felt like you were kind of walking into it when you went under those archways. And then we had the elevator compartments, which we'll talk about in more detail later. This is the closer up picture of the center that I wanted to talk about, because in the center section, we also had lots of roaming dolls. I came to realize that there was literally 4 roaming dolls that were officially included in this theme design. And we'll go through them when I talk about them later. But we had the roaming clown, the roaming bear, which I think were both new this year, but I'm not 100% sure. And then roaming Rosie, who I think was new the previous year because she was in the Subway Station Z. I don't think we had the roaming antique doll here, but we were also supposed to have this like roaming ghost boy. So like 4 roaming dolls that all looked really, really good because it just kind of had this antique feel to it, and I thought they were very fitting in this theme. And then once again, we have Morning Glory on the left and Rising Reaper on the right. Rising Reaper is quite an underrated prop, but Morning Glory I really do love as well. And then you can get a closer look of how there's blood and chipped paint on the wall. Very, very creepy aesthetic to the whole thing, and everything was just so perfectly laid out. I think there may have also been a bell on the table, not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure the soundtrack back in this section of the store had like some bells and stuff going on, so it was all very appropriate. And then, yeah, you could walk in from the left and right. The way it was laid out felt really immersive. You had these pillars on the left and the right. One of them was connected to that center platform. The other one was free on its own. And then you had, like I said, you had kind of like the overhang archway over you that just made you feel like you were walking into it. It didn't even really need to have a ceiling behind it. It just made you feel like you were walking into this other world, walking into this haunted hotel. And so I really, really liked the way that those were designed. I thought they looked awesome, the way they looked chipped away and broken. And you'd walk underneath of those, and then you'd be in the back of the hotel. I think there was a section where there was actually some ceiling that crossed over between the middle platform and the center, but I'm not 100% sure. But there was a little bit of an overhang over the back of the display. You can see that there was a bit of like a ceiling that had kind of like a chipped away look at it, but it didn't go that far over your head. It was just like a foot out from the display. And then you can see it had a really, really nice design to the wall and the wallpaper being chipped away, and then like the green at the bottom section of the wall. And then you had 4 of these little compartments. I think 2 of them were elevator shafts in the middle, and the 2 on the outside were just like rooms or something, or didn't really have much detail to them. Above them though, or maybe that was also, actually no, I think maybe they were all supposed to be elevators now that I'm thinking, because they all had the little elevator room thing above it, like the thing that pointed at the room, and those were actually moving, which was awesome. And so I think they were actually all supposed to be elevators. Just 2 of them were the elevator shaft, and then the other 2 were the actual elevator. So I'm just now putting 2 and 2 together, that they were all elevators. So this was the elevators in the lobby, and so this is really, really cool. I love the way this was creatively done. It was very smart and clever the way that it was done, and you had elevator buttons on the wall that I think was the Try Me buttons, which is so cool. So I really love just the way everything was incorporated into the hotel theming itself. I feel like, you know, some themes that didn't quite as well incorporate their theme would be like the gas station. I feel like it didn't really have many elements of a gas station. So when they really make it feel like what the theme is supposed to be, like in this case, the hotel, they brought so much of that to life. I really, really love when they do that. But yeah, and then also I wanted to mention those lights that you had. You had like these overhanging lights, these lights that stuck out. And I really, really loved those that were like flickering and just looked like, you know, some old school light bulbs in the hotel. So you had like lots of elements that just really made this look real. It made it look like an abandoned hotel elevator shafts. So this here was the elevator compartment on the far left. You had Twitching Banshee in there with lots of blood on the ground. And then you also had just some kind of detailing on the outsides of the compartment. You had like a wood siding that like outlined the shape of the opening, and then it also looks like there's something else there. Maybe that's supposed to look like the elevator doors. I think that's supposed to look like the elevator doors open. So lots of little details that I don't even notice until I look this close. And then I really, really loved the little pointer up top that actually moved from side to side. Those were so awesome. So this here was Twitching Banshee. Twitching Banshee was included on the far left. So she had actually returned from 2015. She was introduced in the far left compartment, I think, of the Zombie Station Z. And so Twitching Banshee was back once again in the far left compartment of this theme for this year. And I thought it fit very, very well in there, and definitely was one of the creepiest props that was included. And then in the center, we had the electrified corpse. This was the center left. And so, yeah, this is where you see that it looks like it was supposed to be an elevator shaft. There's some wires going down. This guy I always loved because he always had a lot of like electric live wires displayed by him. So it was a great opportunity to display the live wires, and they added a lot to his activation. And then also the floor of the elevator shaft was meant to kind of look like it continued to go down. So it kind of had this like illusion. It didn't work that well, but you can see that they tried to kind of have this illusion on the floor that the elevator shaft kept going down. So I think that was a very creative idea as well. And then, yeah, I can tell that that was supposed to be the doors, the elevator doors that you can start to see with the little crisscross design right on the sides there. And then this is a picture of the two compartments on the right. We had in the center right, we had Floating Ghost Girl with a red light on her. And on the far right, we had Boogeyman with blue lighting on him. I never really thought Boogeyman was that impressive. But that being said, if, you know, that was the guy that I thought was kind of the least impressive in this theme, and he at least was still a full life-size, big, you know, cool animatronic, even though it wasn't really up my alley. So I felt like the lineup was really, really good in this theme because they didn't just fill in with any static props or any props that were clearly filler. They actually had everything filled out with a full life-size moving animatronics. So I really, really like that about this theme, that it was very filled out and it had a really good lineup to it. There was no filler. There was no cut corners. So I really do like that about this theme. But yeah, the Boogeyman himself, though, was never really like one of my favorite props. But we had him on the far right. He definitely was very fitting because he was wearing like a suit and tie, so he looks like he was staying in the hotel. And then we had the Floating Ghost Girl, who obviously was my favorite from this theme because she's one of my favorites of all time, and she was awesome in one of the ones that was supposed to look like an elevator shaft. And of course that was really appropriate for her because it looks like she's floating all the way up this elevator shaft. You know, there wasn't even supposed to be a floor beneath her, so she's really floating. And she was really awesome in there. I loved how she looked. I know a lot of times at the stores they didn't work super well, but when it was all fully functional, this was a very well thought out theme as far as how the props were included and the set design itself. And then once again, I really loved how the Try Me buttons were in the hotel. I think they actually were in the elevator button display thing. So you see that thing in the center there, right underneath of that light I was talking about, had the Try Me buttons disguised as elevator buttons, and I think they had arrows pointing. So that was just one of the most creative incorporations of the Try Me or the foot pads that they've ever done. So before I give my final thoughts on this theme, let's go ahead and run through what the prop lineup was. I know you guys saw some of them as we've been scrolling through the pictures, but we had the Boogeyman, we had Electrified Corpse, we had Twitching Banshee, we had Floating Ghost Girl, so those were all of our ones in our back four compartments, Morning Gory, the Rising Reaper of Death, so those were our two up front. We had this clown guy. He was kind of random, but he was in there. And then we had the Roaming Bear, the Roaming Clown, Roaming Antique Clown, Roaming Ghost Boy, I think this was called, which I never really saw in store, and then Roaming Rosie, Antique Doll. So those were all the roaming props were up in the front, just kind of doing their thing. And then we had the two big props up at the front, and the left and the right, which was Morning Gory and Rising Reaper, who I thought both were solid. And then I felt like all of the props in the compartments were solid in the elevators. So like a lot of really great props were featured in this theme. I didn't really love that clown. He was kind of just randomly thrown. He was thrown like right behind the middle section. As you walked in, he was right behind that middle section, just kind of standing there freely. I never understood why he was in stores. I really kind of felt like he was kind of filler, but it was fine because he didn't waste a space in like the main theme when I think about like the hotel elevator compartments. So anyways, that is the hotel, and personally, it's one of my favorite themes of all time. I think it was really well executed. I think the set design is incredible, and it also housed a really, really solid lineup that was fitting. They felt right in this theme, unlike what we've seen with some of the boat themes and the water themes they try to do, where it doesn't even really have those themes props. So I would give this theme a 9.5 out of 10. I mean, this is a very, very solid theme, guys. One of their best. And being with it on top of the clock tower, boy, 2016 was a time to be a Spirit Halloween fan, because I just feel like it was a great year for themes and props. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Let me know what you thought of the Haunted Hotel down in the comment section below. Were you a Spirit Halloween fan in 2016? Do you remember this theme? Let me know your thoughts. Also, be sure to let me know your recommendations for future themes to do for this series. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.